Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. So today we are going to discuss about another issue that is making the headlines these days is that RBI has decided to launch the digital rupee that for the first time was announced in the budget speech by the finance minister this year, in the beginning of this year. So in this particular session, we are going to discuss in very details what is the digital rupee, also called as central bank digital currency, what is the concept underlying it, what is the significance and the benefits by launching of such currencies, and what are the challenges that the Reserve Bank of India has said that the country can face in the coming time in the wake of the launch of this digital currency. So to understand and know about all these aspects, please stay in tune with us till the end of the video. So first of all, why we are discussing this particular issue is because for the first time a pilot project in the launch of digital rupee in the wholesale segment has been commenced yesterday, that is on the November 1st 2022 by the RBI as per the circular issued by the organization. It is believed to be the first pilot in the digital rupee or e-rupee that has been commenced by the government of India or Reserve Bank of India in the wholesale segment. As far as the retail segment is concerned, RBI has also announced that in the coming month, that is in the December month, RBI will start their first pilot in the e-rupees retail segment in the select locations of India. As far as the background of this currency launch is concerned, the central government in this year, March itself, has notified and has made the necessary amendment in the RBI Act of 1934, and that has paved the way for running the pilot program, and also it will pave the way for subsequent launch of the CBDCs, that is Central Bank Digital Currency, commonly known as Digital Rupee. So let us try to understand briefly what this pilot project is all about. So pilot project will cover secondary market transactions that take place by the Central Bank of India, that is the Reserve Bank of India, in the government securities. And use of digital rupee in the wholesale segment is expected to make the interbank market, interbank transfers much more efficient in nature as compared to the earlier times or as compared to the past times. Not only that, not only it will make the interbank market transfer more efficient, but it is also believed by RBI that it will lead in reduction of transaction cost because it will preempt the need for settlement guarantee infrastructure that has to be put into place. Not only that, in the coming times, other wholesale transactions and even cross-border transactions, that is transactions between different countries, will be focus of the future pilot project. So this is the first of the step that has been taken as far as the path and the progress in the era of digital rupee is concerned. First, we have launch in the wholesale segment. Second, we'll have the launch in the wholesale segment connecting different merchants all across the world. And third, we'll have the launch in the retail segment that can be used by the daily consumers like us. So the first question that obviously come into mind that what is a digital currency or what is the digital rupee? So as per the definition given by the Reserve Bank of India, digital rupee can be defined simply as a legal tender that has been issued by the central bank in the digital form. That means it is very similar to the currency, the currency notes that we hold in our hands. The only difference between the digital rupee and the physical currency note is that one is digital and other is physical. Apart from that, the value, the importance, as well as the backing, as far as the backing by the government and Reserve Bank is concerned, both will enjoy a similar kind of backing. So it is very similar to the sovereign paper currency, albeit digital in nature, and it will serve the purpose, both purposes that is generally attributed to any currency. It will be a medium of payment that will be acceptable by all, and it will also be used as a safe store of value. So it will be a unit of value, a medium of payment. That is the main importance and significance of digital rupee. Not only that, it will appear as liability on the central bank's balance sheet, and e-digital rupee can be converted to any commercial bank money or cash. That means if you are a holder of 1 rupees in the digital form, or you are a holder of 1 rupees of digital form, then you can simply convert into a physical form if you want, or if you have physical currency note, you can simply convert into digital form if you want. So that is why it is fungible legal tender. Fungible means it can be simply replaced by the physical form, and for which holders need not have a bank account. Now this is very important significance or important point about digital rupees, that you do not need to have a bank account to have possession of digital rupee. And this is the reason why it is believed that once it is finally unveiled for the consumers, general consumers, it will translate into financial inclusion, or it will lead or usher an era of financial inclusion in India. So what are the benefits that can be attributed to the digital currency? First of all, as I just have discussed, since bank account is not required to have hold of digital currency notes, it will foster financial inclusion. This is very, very important because as far as India is concerned, the financial inclusion level is very, very low, at least if you compare with the other OECD countries or other developed countries. Not only that, once it is fully developed, it will help in reduction of cost that is associated with the physical cash management. Because obviously, if Reserve Bank is publishing or Reserve Bank is printing money in physical form, they'll have to usher or incur the cost of printing equipments. They have to incur and usher the cost of movement of this money from one place to another places. Even commercial banks will have to incur the cost because they need to put the money into the ATMs and again take the money back from the customer and put into send into the central bank's treasury. So there is a lot of costs that are associated with physical cash management that will obviously will be taken care of, that we can say will be reduced significantly once digital rupee is launched. Not only that, as far as from the consumer point of view is concerned, the era of digital currency will promote or provide consumer with an alternative to the unregulated cryptocurrencies and their associated risks. Now, from past few years, there has been a lot of interest, even India, in investment in the bitcoins or holding some sort of cryptocurrency. But the problem is that many people, especially in the country where digital literacy, financial literacy is very, very low, people are not aware about the risks associated with cryptocurrency, and that is why many people in the past and in this year also they have lost their investment, lost their money in the cryptocurrencies, because there is very significant fluctuation or unpredictable fluctuation that happens in the value of these currencies. So any currency that is similar to cryptocurrency like digital rupee but is backed by the central government, backed by the RBI, will have more safety, will be more secure as far as their position is concerned. And thus, by doing so, it is believed that RBI has said that this kind of movement or this kind of step will usher in a decentralized financial system in India and disrupt the traditional financial system. Now, as far as the central bank digital currency is concerned, we can have different forms of CBDCs. And as far as their uses and functions are concerned, CBDCs can be of two forms. First is something that is referred as CBDCR, that is stand for Central Bank Digital Currency for the retail sector. That means this kind of digital currency is meant for retail consumption, that means daily consumers, and can be availed by all kind of customers, whether it is private sector, whether it is non-financial institutions, or even private consumers and businesses. On the other hand, the second form of digital currency is something that is referred as CBDCW, that is CBDC for the wholesale segment. And this kind of digital currency is meant mainly for the interbank transfer. For example, one side you have a State Bank of India, one side you have Bank of Baroda, and there has to be some kind of transaction that has to take place between these two banks. Then for that purpose, they will take help of CBDCW. Not only that, even if there is some kind of transaction that has to take place, for example, in fulfillment of cash reserve ratio or the fulfillment of the repo rate requirement, then the transaction that takes place between the central bank and different commercial banks in India, that can also be can take place by the medium of CBDCW. So this kind of digital currency is meant for the wholesale transaction mainly by the financial institutions, not the retail traders or retail investors. As far as the accessibility of CBDCs is concerned, the RBI has said that on the basis of flow of assets in the supply chain, accessibility can be accessibility can happen in two forms. One is token-based systems. So as we have just discussed, as far as the CBDC in the retail sector is concerned, in this kind of sector, we can say the movement of CBDC will happen via token-based system, where the circulation of digital rupee will happen in the similar manner how a physical currency is circulated in the market. And thus, the most important point is if someone is holding digital rupee, by prima facie he will be understood to have the possession of digital rupee. He will consider as the sole owner of that digital rupee. Simple example is there. If you are holding rupees 10 note and if you go and buy something, then the person or the place from which you are buying something, he believe that you are the actual and legitimate holder of that 10 rupees currency note. So in similar manner, if you are also holding digital rupee, you will be considered as the sole and legitimate owner of that digital rupee unless and until you transfer it to someone else. The other kind of system based on the flow of asset is account based system that will be mainly helpful and used in the CBDC wholesale. Here there is a need to verify that the person who is transferring or taking part in exchange of digital rupee, whether he has the authority to use the account or whether and also whether he is an actual possession of sufficient balance to carry forth a transaction. So in certain manner, this account based system of digital transaction is same as the digital transaction that happens in current time. For example, you want to send someone 1000 rupees via bank transfer, then first of all, bank verify whether you have 1,000 rupees in your bank account or not, and second, whether you are the legitimate owner of the 1,000 rupees or not. So after the verification, then finally transaction is carried out. So this is the difference between the token-based system and the account-based system. Again, to repeat, token-based system will be used for circulation of digital rupee in the retail segment, while the account-based system will be used for the transaction in the wholesale segment, mainly by the financial institutions. So the question comes that how supply chain of CBDCs will work. So as far as the global examples are concerned, we have three types of supply chain for the CBDCs. The first kind of supply chain is called as a direct CBDC. So in the direct CBDC, the whole onus of management of supply chain rests on the central bank only. For example, in case of India, it is the Reserve Bank of India who will manage the transaction, who will record the transaction, and will also verify the transaction. Not only that, even the issuance of the digital rupee will take place through the Central Bank of India, that is the Reserve Bank of India. So whole aspect of supply chain management is on the shoulders of Reserve Bank of India. The second type of supply chain is indirect CBDC, that is going to be that will be preferred by RBI when the digital rupee is launched in India. So in this kind of CBDCs, we have two different institutions. One is the central bank, that is RBI in the case of India, and second is some kind of service provider that can be intermediaries or can be other commercial institutions, commercial banks. So here there is roles and responsibilities about CBDCs shared by two. As far as the central bank or RBI is concerned, the RBI will be only engaged in scrutiny of transactions, that whether the transaction that is taking place in exchange of digital rupee, whether this is valid transaction, whether the transaction is right or wrong, or whether the transaction is taking place as mandated by the RBI. On the other hand, responsibility and obligation to provide digital rupees or central bank digital currencies to the consumers, especially to the retail customers, will be something that will be carried out by the service provider. So roles and responsibility are shared by two different institutions, and this is something that is going to be being preferred by RBI in case of India. The third kind of CBDCs is hybrid CBDC. In hybrid CBDC, it is a central bank that issues digital currency, and it is a central bank that provides all the retail customer with the digital currency through the help of intermediaries. That means intermediaries' objective is single, that they have to transfer the digital currencies that has been transferred to them via RBI, and thus this is how hybrid CBDCs will work. So we have three different types of supply chain: direct, indirect, and hybrid. In case of India, we'll follow the indirect CBDC. However, as far as the concept note published by Reserve Bank of India is concerned, the launch of CBDCs and digital currency is not free from concern. So four major concerns have been raised by RBI. The first concern is related with data collection and anonymity. For example, the central bank digital currency works on the principle of data collection, works on the principle of digital transaction, and that is why in India, where we have only 60% of people are having some sort of an internet connection, and also the digital literacy rate is very low. It is very difficult to collect the data and also to ensure the anonymity of the information. Second is there will be increase in the cases of cyber security and financial fraud. For example, when we have switched from having physical currency based transaction to digital currency based transaction, obviously the risk associated with the frauds have increased, and this will increase further when digital rupee is launched. Third is there will be issue of dispute resolution and accountability. Let us try to understand this from example. It is obviously, as we have discussed, in India, the internet availability is very less. Only 60% of consumers have internet availability, and that is when the digital rupee is launched, RBI said that it has to happen in the offline format also. For example, if you are the owner of digital rupee and if you want to transfer this digital rupee to some shopkeeper where you go for shopping, then you not need to have internet connection for doing so. But the problem arises that suppose you are a holder of 1,000 rupees of digital currency and you already have transferred 800 rupees to some shopkeeper. Now how will banks verify that how much money you have transferred to the shopkeeper unless and until you again switch on your internet connection? So there will be problem of double counting or double expenditure or double spending, and that can give rise to several disputes, and who will be held accountable. That is something also that has to be very clarified. And last is the concern raised by IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, is that currently government is focused on, the RBI is focused, or even in different countries, the central banks are focused on launching digital currencies in the domestic market. But if the digital currency takes its final form, when it is being used by large number of customers, large number of consumers, obviously there will be necessity that it has to be transaction has to take place even within countries, within different international regional borders as well. So in that case, if different countries are working or have launched digital currencies in different kind of format, are using different kind of systems, that will have a problem of interoperability, that will present the challenges of interoperability into different systems to different countries. And there is also a risk associated with the cross border transactions, because there is a risk that the money digital currencies can be used for the money laundering, for the financial fraud, and even for the terrorism financing. So this is something that the concerns that has been raised by international institutions as well as RBI, that we have to ensure that is taken care of before we enter into a full-fledged world of central bank digital currency. Now, obviously, India is not the only country or single country that has launched its pilot program as far as the CBDC is concerned. We can see all across the world, more than hundreds of countries are there that are currently in different stages as far as the rollout of CBDCs are concerned. For example, India has entered into the launch phase or pilot phase before it was in development phase. Similarly, Russia and China already have launched the pilot phase. We talk about the developed countries such as Canada, Australia, European countries are there, some of the South American countries are there. They're in the phase of development. Some countries like USA are in the research phase, while some countries such as Egypt, as you can see from here, is still are in the inactive phase. They have not taken any initiative to launch the digital currency in the near future, while some of the countries are there which have cancelled the digital currency. They have experimented with digital currency that has led to the failure, and thus they have cancelled the whole event or the whole rollout program. So that is about the status of CBDCs across the world. Now here the interesting thing is that as far as the first country to launch digital currency is concerned, it was Bahamas, that is small island country near North Atlantic, and also Nigeria. So Bahamas and Nigeria were the first of the countries to launch digital currency, and to large extent this model has been successful as far as its working and functioning is concerned. So on the basis of this discussion, what we can say about conclusion, that as per Washington think tank Atlantic Council, total 105 countries that represent almost 95% of global GDP are exploring CBDCs and are in different stages of development of CBDCs. And that is why, even if we talk about International Monetary Fund, it has clearly said that the Asia Pacific region especially is at the forefront of introducing digital currency. And that is why we can say the decision of the Reserve Bank of India and the government of India to actively encourage encourage the uses of digital currency is a step in the right direction. And the neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Nepal, and Maldives, these countries will follow suit and will also take advantage of the experiments and the success of digital currencies in India. So that is all for this particular video. I hope you understood about the concepts behind the digital currency. So hit like button if you like the video, share it with your fellow aspirants, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. Thank you very much.